And what was told to me was that a Turning Point executive got into an Uber one day and they randomly just kind of started talking about Turning Point. And the executive asked the driver, what do you think about Turning Point? And the driver proceeded to tell the Turning Point executive, well, it's just really sad. I've heard the organization's really going downhill. There's not really a direction and nobody likes Erika. And the Turning Point executive proceeded to ask this Uber driver, well, who told you that? And the Uber driver told the Turning Point executive that his daughter was good friends with a girl that worked at Turning Point way back when in high school. They had spoken about Turning Point since Charlie's assassination, and that, this was told to him by his daughter. And the Turning Point executive, of course, asked, well, what's the employee's name? And the Uber driver allegedly said, Aubrey. Aubrey who? Aubrey Leitch. And the story was presented to me as one of the reasons for my termination.
Erika believed she had every loose end locked down after pushing out insiders at TPUSA who might expose what was happening behind the scenes.
And then they started singling out people, and they would pull them out one by one to go outside and smoke like a cigarette. Now, when it was finally my turn to go and talk to them, they approached me and they asked me, hey, what are your views on Israel? And I just told them, I think Israel's a good country. At the time, I thought so, at least. And they told me, okay, well, what do you think about, Mossad and, Israeli forces? And I was like, they're all right. Yeah. And they were like, what if we told you we're part of it, Israeli groups and forces? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, and you work for Turning Point, right? And they were like, yeah, we do. We've been working for Turning Point for the past 4 or 5 years.
But things didn't go the way she expected. Now the pressure is coming from inside her own circle. According to fresh claims making the rounds, this is not just some upset former staff member speaking out. People are saying it might be someone much closer to her. In fact, rumors claim it could be her own best friend preparing to reveal everything. The whispers suggest Charlie may have been used as a pawn the entire time, part of a bigger plan to take full control of TPUSA once and for all.
We have so much to do, which is exciting. Charlie in heaven is like, you guys thought you had a busy schedule then, just you wait.
Meanwhile, the new leadership at TPUSA has been shaking the place up in a major way. Employees have reportedly been getting cut left and right as management clears house. Sources say many of the people losing their jobs are the same ones known to be loyal to Charlie. Some reports even claim Erika talked openly about removing what she called the quote-unquote Charlie fans inside the organization. Then there's the strange case of Aubrey Locke, a staff member who had been working there for 4 years. Her exit reportedly came down to something that sounds almost unbelievable: a taxi ride. Yes, seriously, a taxi ride. Here's how the story goes. A high-ranking member of TPUSA got into a taxi, and like most drivers do, the conversation turned into simple small talk. During the chat, the driver mentioned that his daughter had a friend working at the organization. The talk kept rolling, and the driver later claimed that his daughter's friend said many staff members were unhappy with the new leadership. That comment somehow made its way back through the grapevine. According to reports, once Erika heard about it, the pieces were quickly put together. The employee was identified, and just like that, Aubrey was out. Now think about this for a moment. After a long day at work, most people go home and talk about it. You sit down with your partner, your friend, or a family member, and you explain what happened during the day. Maybe you complain a little, maybe you vent about management, maybe you just let the stress out. That's normal human behavior. It is not some secret operation or espionage mission. And when you remember the situation staff were dealing with, it becomes even more understandable. Reports say employees were pushed straight back into work after the shocking attack on Charlie and the chaos that followed. There was little time to process what happened, no real pause to grieve or regroup. In that kind of environment, it is completely natural for workers to talk with spouses, friends, or relatives about what they were experiencing under the new leadership. So it raises a serious question.
Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than...
I think you're a bright light in a very dark place.
So let's go grab a mojito.
Is the new management at TPUSA now trying to monitor what employees say in their private lives? Because if someone can lose their job over a secondhand comment mentioned during a taxi ride, that sends a loud message about how tightly things are being controlled. Candace also reported that executives have been pulling employees into offices and pressing them about where their loyalty stands when it comes to Erika. In another case, one staff member reportedly had Turning Point's in-house counsel show up at her personal home. She was informed she was fired on the spot and was told not to delete anything and to immediately hand over her company laptop. Another young staff member walked into work thinking she was about to be rewarded for all the effort she had been putting in. She believed the meeting was about a bonus after the intense push during AmFest and the non-stop workload that followed the events surrounding Charlie. But instead of praise or recognition, the meeting took a sharp turn. She says she was suddenly fired with no explanation at all.
That young man. On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That young man, I forgive him.
This reportedly happened even though the organization had raised around $250 million during that same period. The situation left her confused and suspicious. She later shared that she believed Turning Point might have installed some type of monitoring software on company laptops. The reason she thinks this goes back to a private conversation the night before. According to her account, she had messaged another Turning Point employee and admitted she was not impressed with Erika's leadership style. Soon after that message, she was out the door. If that claim is accurate, it suggests the culture inside Turning Point has shifted in a serious way. The expectation now appears to be total loyalty to Erika. No questions, no criticism, nothing that sounds even slightly skeptical. And that raises an even bigger question. What exactly are they trying so hard to keep under wraps? Some people point to the internal audit of TPUSA finances that Charlie had reportedly been focused on before his removal. Others online have pushed more dramatic theories, including claims that the organization may have been influenced or infiltrated by outside intelligence groups. Adding to the tension, a former employee described a strange experience from his very first week on the job. According to him, senior members invited the new hires out for what was presented as a friendly welcome gathering. But he claims the tone changed quickly. And according to multiple former staffers, that question was not asked casually. They say the way it was delivered felt more like a test than friendly conversation. One former employee explained that the room would suddenly get quiet and everyone would wait to hear the answer. It was not about policy debates or campaign strategy. The focus was extremely specific, and that made some of the new hires uncomfortable right away. Several people who worked there claim that moment told them a lot about how things operated behind the scenes. It suggested that certain viewpoints mattered far more than others. And if your answer did not land the right way, people in the room would remember it. Now, combine that with everything else that has been reported lately. Sudden firings, loyalty questions in private offices, and staff being removed over conversations that happened outside of work. When you stack those stories together, the picture starts to look much bigger than just normal workplace drama. Some critics say the organization has become more focused on protecting leadership than listening to the people actually doing the work. Others believe the aggressive cleanout is happening because someone inside the organization is worried that more information could leak out. Either way, the timing of all this has people watching very closely. Because when employees start disappearing one after another and no clear explanations are given, it naturally raises more questions than answers. If those accounts are true, then that was not some casual welcome gathering. That sounds much more like a screening process, and that raises an important question. Who exactly was doing the screening and what were they looking for? Because before everything started falling apart, sources say Charlie Kirk had been pushing for something major inside TPUSA. He reportedly wanted a full internal audit. The plan, according to people familiar with the situation, was to take a serious look at the finances, the staffing decisions, and the overall direction the organization was heading. Whether that audit ever actually began is still unclear. But one thing that seems obvious is this. After Charlie was removed, that effort appeared to disappear right along with him. And in its place, a very different direction seems to be emerging under Erika's leadership. Observers say she has been forming alliances that many longtime supporters would never have expected. One of the most surprising names connected to these recent moments is Nicki Minaj. And if you saw the viral clip where Nicki called J.D. Vance an assassin during a live stage moment, then you already know how unusual the situation has started to look. This feels very different from the TPUSA that Charlie originally built. And when people talk about the optics, they often point out that Charlie Kirk was known for promoting a very specific image and message. One centered around faith first, family first, and traditional values. For years, Erika appeared to fit perfectly into the role people expected to see beside Charlie. By most public accounts, she stayed out of the spotlight. She seemed reserved, quiet, and fully supportive of the mission around her. That was the image many people became used to seeing. But according to critics and commentators watching the situation now, the energy shifted dramatically after Charlie was gone. Suddenly, Erika was everywhere. Television appearances, Fox News segments, major stages with bright lights and loud entrances. She was speaking confidently about merchandise sales, huge donation totals, and the constant flow of orders coming in. To some observers, it almost looked like someone finally stepping into a moment they had been waiting for their entire life. And that is where commentator Candace Owens enters the story. Candace has been publicly digging into Erika's past, speaking with people who claim they knew her long before any connection to TPUSA. What some of those people are allegedly saying has raised more than a few eyebrows. According to those claims, old friends say the person they see today feels very different from the Erika they once knew. Not just the normal kind of change people go through over time, but something that feels more carefully crafted. They point to the public image she presents. The stories about never drinking, never dating, constantly steering conversations toward faith, and wearing her religious identity like a shield in every situation. Now, one person who reportedly knew Erika very well in the past has allegedly begun sharing her own perspective. And that's where a theory some people online call the honeypot theory started gaining attention. Erika once told a story about how she first met Charlie at an airport long before their lives became publicly connected. According to that story, Charlie immediately seemed strangely familiar to her. Her mother, Lori, even encouraged her to walk over and start a conversation with him. But at the time, Erika says she refused to approach him. Sources are now claiming that the airport story may not have been just a random moment after all. According to people speaking out, the meeting between Charlie and Erika may have been quietly arranged long before that day ever happened. Some insiders say there had been attempts for years to place Erika in Charlie's orbit so the introduction could look natural and organic. But when those early chances reportedly did not work out, another name allegedly stepped in: Tyler Bowyer. According to these claims, Tyler eventually introduced Erika to Charlie directly. Sources say he had already been speaking highly of her for months, constantly praising her and describing her as the perfect match. The picture he painted was clear. Erika was presented as the ideal conservative partner, the missing rib Charlie had supposedly been searching for. Now that Charlie is gone, critics argue the direction of Turning Point looks very different from what he once stood for. The internal audit he reportedly wanted is no longer being discussed. Instead, people say the organization appears to be moving towards celebrity partnerships, brand expansion, and even ventures like real estate projects. Candace Owens has also made a bold claim. She argues that Erika is now shaping the narrative around Charlie's legacy. almost like she is speaking on behalf of someone who can no longer respond. At the same time, reports suggest that several insiders who have known Erika for years may be preparing to speak publicly, including someone described as her best friend of 15 years, Tracy Martin. So the big question people keep asking is this: was Erika simply a partner who happened to cross paths with Charlie? Or was there a larger plan unfolding behind the scenes the entire time? What do you think about all of this? Do you believe their meeting was just coincidence? Or do you think there might be more to the story that has not fully come out yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who wants to stay updated on this story. Also, check out the next video on screen because the details there get even more intense.